Quick reminder, we now have a Discord channel called The Hideout. Join for behind-the-scenes tidbits, get buying recommendations from yours truly, and, just hang out. Scan the QR code on the screen or use the invite link in the description to join. Alright, back to the video. Ever since 2022, a lot of new planar IEMs have popped up in the market, offering a new driver type for makers to, use and try, and it gives us as consumers more choice. Still, most of the earlier stuff had some tuning issues and they were somewhat costly. Now though, we're getting some really great sets at a good price, and today's spotlight is gonna be on the Shuoer S08. It wooed me ever since the summer PhotoFest where I got to try it. Check that vid out if you haven't. But yeah, finally I bought it, and I'm gonna show you why this has become my new default $100 recommendation. So the box for the Shuoer S08 is of a modest size, but it has a nice kind of silvery 8 motif in the front. Slide the cover out, open the inner box, and we get the Shuoer S08 on the top with the cylindrical Shuoer case in the bottom slot. So the case is made of plastic with a sort of soft touch feeling, and once you twist the cap off, it opens to reveal a sort of ear tip holder containing some generic, softer, smoky gray silicone ear tips, as well as a slightly harder, more Akustune AET7 style ear tips. The cable for the S08, it has a sort of copper color. It works well enough and it's fairly supple, but honestly it doesn't match the looks of the IEMs themselves. Now we do get a very nice chin slider, modular terminations for 3.5mm and balanced 4.4mm, and I always appreciate a little Velcro strap for that cable management. The shell of the S08 itself comes in black or silver variants, and whilst I do like the look of the silver version more, test units I saw they had some nasty scratches. So I reckon that the black version will hide those scratches kind of better over time. The shape itself, it looks like if the Moondrop Lon ate too many Big Macs and got overweight. Despite that, it fits quite well in the ears and is really comfortable. Now, being a planar IEM, the Shuoer S08 is a little bit more power hungry than a dynamic or BA IEM, but it's not to the extent of, say, the Moondrop Stellaris or the 7Hz Timeless. But you'll probably need like an extra notch or two of volume in your source. Ear tips wise, I thought that both the stock ear tip types that were included in the box worked equally well. I personally opted for some Tangsu Tangsankai ear tips, just for that little extra bit of comfort. With all that out of the way, let's get to the sound of the Shuoer S08. So a lot of the other planar releases, they try for a V-shaped sound, or they opted for like a bright tuning to highlight the resolution abilities of the planar. But the S08, it takes a warm and more, I'd say analog tuning style that is very pleasant. Starting with the bass, the low end of the S08, it's a warm, enveloping implementation that plays well to its overall tuning profile. With other planars, sometimes you can see that the bass slam, it feels a little blunted, or it's lacking that decay. Say for some like the Tangsu Zeshan Wu. The S08's driver, thankfully, it's mostly avoided this phenomenon with a mid-bass focused tuning that gives a very dynamic driver-like kind of impact, whilst giving good bass detail, although I guess the decay, it's still a little bit shorter than dynamic driver bass. The low end, it adds oomph and some warmth to the overall signature without introducing muddiness, making it versatile for pretty much all genres. Now the mid-range is sort of the star of the show here, but we are seeing quite a novel take of it. So you'd think that the early rise from 1 to 1.5 kHz in the chart would make for some weird artifacting, but it actually does quite well to introduce energy into songs and kind of bridging the gap between the lower mids and the upper mid range. To even out this early boost, you get a pretty conservative peanut gain region, which you would think makes for like a dull or kind of blunted sound, but no, it seems to be quite balanced actually, and the planar driver's ability to resolve fine detail is able to still shine through. Instrumentation is usually slightly more emphasized than the vocals in the mix, so it's more of a generalist mid-range rather than one that shines in any particular genre, but that makes it very versatile and I really quite like it. Treble on the S08 is in general pretty reserved, save for some, I guess, strategic clarity boosts. You've got some energy in the lower treble regions that shores up the kind of lowered upper mids, giving that nice sense of crispiness that also doesn't go into the over-sharpened territory. After that, although the graph suggests there's another spike, in real life the air regions are fairly rolled off, still giving a natural presentation that is mostly conforming to the sort of warmer, more rounded off sound that the S08 is trying to present. Now for the soundstage, the width of the S08's stage is fairly average. Its width is maybe a little bit more narrow, intimate, and I think this partially stems from the warmer tuning. But you do get a pretty nice vertical separation of musical details, though it does depend on the song that you're playing. It's being more prominent in the simple mixes rather than the busy ones. Technical ability, it falls in line with other planars, but because of the tuning direction, I guess we can see that there is some separation ability being sacrificed for the sake of consistency and coherence. I feel like it's a very good balance though, and the slight detail loss is very much worth it for achieving just a very agreeable sound that still extracts micro and macro details, rivaling like even multi-driver sets at the S08's price point. Okay, so let's take a look at another very solid contender of the $100 class, which is the Simgot EM6L, kind of representing the hybrid one dynamic free BA design compared to the single planar from Shuoer. Design wise, I do like the black and gold theming of the EM6L, and although it is made of resin, it still feels equally well built to the S08's more metal shell. Both IEMs have high quality accessories, which is always a good thing, but the S08 has one more ear tip type and the very useful modular plugs. Going to the sound, the Simgot EM6L follows the Harman blueprint, whilst the S08 kind of treads its own path. You have a more sub-bass focused low end in the Simgot IEM, and its dynamic driver offers a more, I'd say, natural type of slam, where the S08 is more precise and enveloping thanks to its mid-bass profile and a planar tech. Warmer mids for the S08, whilst with the EM6L, it's more clinical with a more prominent upper mid-range energy. Treble on both are reserved, but the EM6L nudges out a small win with treble detail. Tech-wise, I'd say that both are very similar, and I'm quite surprised that, and impressed actually, that the single planar of the S08 matches the quad driver setup on the EM6L. If you like the Harman profile, get the EM6L. If your preferences lean closer to sort of a warm tone, then the S08 offers up a very nice proposition. For a planar to planar comparison, I also have the Moondrop Stellaris, and it's also at the $100 mark that the S08's trying to penetrate. Both IEMs are of a metal build, but the Stellaris has that extra bling element from its exquisite but fragile paint job, and it is heftier than the more utilitarian looking S08. Moondrop also gave more accessories on the Stellaris, and it's got the same Moondrop anime girl that it's always famous for. So I'll give the win to Moondrop here. Though the S08's modular cable is again very useful. Tuning wise, I think the two IEMs couldn't be more different. The Stellaris, it has a much more conservative bass, whilst the S08's is more thumpy, more lively. Mid-range of the Stellaris is upper mid focused, but with a lot of frankly very odd, like uneven peaks and dips, which make for just a very wonky signature and tonality typical of earlier planar IEMs, whereas the S08 is much more mature. It's got a warmer, well-executed mid-range. Overall, the S08 is the clear winner in tuning with a pleasant sound, whilst the Stellaris, it's kind of everywhere. Just super messy with a disjointed signature. Technicalities wise is where the Stellaris pulls back a win. It takes the edge with slightly better separation and imaging actually. I will take the S08 any day over the Stellaris though. I really don't know what Moondrop was trying to go with this, and in a rare upset, the Stellaris tuning was its biggest weakness, whilst Shuoer shows that they have better mastery of planar technology with the S08. In the past few years, planar IEMs have gone from a rarely deployed kind of exotic technology to a mainstay in the audiophile world, with some caveats such as a bigger housing and tuning deficits. But the LETSHUOER S08, it shows that planar IEMs have matured a lot, offering a very pleasant, lush sound that avoids any kind of weird, uneven peakiness and artifacting, whilst still striking a very nice balance on the technical details. All of this for a very attractive $100 price tag, including some very useful goodies, such as the modular cable. So the S08, it's able to hit all of the metrics of a good product. Good sound, good technicalities, good accessories, good price, with little to complain. And as such, it has, I think, rightfully deserved its place as my new default $100 recommendation.